For the past 40 years, Canada's Wonderland has been thrilling Canadian families and coaster enthusiasts with its extraordinary collection of attractions. In just the past decade, we've seen the outstanding additions of Leviathan, the world's first B&M Giga Coaster, Wonder Mountain's Guardian, Cedar Faire's first modern interactive dark ride, Yukon Striker, the tallest, fastest, and longest dive machine, plus a handful of fun flat rides and water slides. Without a doubt, Canada's Wonderland has positioned itself among the best theme parks in North America. But what comes next? How will we see Canada's Wonderland continue to evolve over the next 10 years? Good day everyone, my name is Parker, and welcome to another episode of Theme Park Parlay here on Adventures with Parker. Today, we're going to look at the future of Canada's Wonderland and predict what sort of additions and changes the park will see over the next 10 years. From record-breaking coasters to immersive themed experiences, the next chapter of the park's history is sure to be interesting. So, without any further ado, let's talk theme parks. So, I'm not going to sit here and list off new additions year by year like some other channels do. What I'm going to do is give a general vision for how the park will be changing over the next 10 years. Let's start off by talking about what we know. First of all, we're still kind of in the middle of a pandemic, and we still don't have a clear idea of how that's going to affect the theme park industry or Cedar Faire's internal timeline. The one thing we are certain of is that the park's 2020 additions, Beagle Brigade Airfield and Mountain Bay Cliffs, have both been rescheduled to open this year in 2021. We also know that Cedar Fair, the chain that owns Wonderland, has some interesting ideas on how to develop their parks going forward. Cedar Fair really wants to offer a broad range of experiences that appeal to the whole family. Well, what the heck does this mean? Well, for one thing, they want to add experiences that extend beyond plain old roller coasters. Think of things like Forbidden Frontier at Cedar Point, or even the introduction of Winterfest at Canada's Wonderland in 2019. These type of things will draw in families and offer a bit of something for everyone, even those who may not be quote-unquote ride warriors. Second, we're seeing Cedar Fair integrate more themed experiences. We see this in Steel Vengeance, and again, Forbidden Frontier at Cedar Point, Copperhead Strike in the surrounding Blue Ridge Junction area at Carowinds, and of course, with Yukon Striker and Frontier Canada at Canada's Wonderland. Wonderland actually used to be a very well-themed park when it first opened. You'll hear my friends over at Amusement Insiders talk about this all the time, but Paramount kind of ruined the park, and Cedar Fair is now trying to fix this and revive some of the old theming. Aside from Frontier Canada and Yukon Striker, we saw some theming updates in Medieval Faire, as well as the revival of the Grand World Exposition of 1890 in 2019. We also know that Cedar Fair is in a phase of removing older and unpopular attractions, as we saw with the removal of Orbiter at the end of 2018. Don't get me wrong though, Cedar Fair is still committed to introducing thrilling, record-breaking coasters, and this will continue to be a big focus, especially at Canada's Wonderland. I want to begin our discussion by focusing on the Frontier Canada section of the park. We know that Frontier Canada is a multi-year development. It began with Soarin' Timbers in 2017, and its official introduction and the addition of Yukon Striker marks the halfway point, which means over the next 2 to 4 years, we're going to see even more additions to round out Frontier Canada. We can definitely count on a massive renovation to Whitewater Canyon, similar to what Cedar Fair did with Calico River Rapids over at Knott's Berry Farm. This means the addition of scenes, sets, and even animatronics. Obviously, the storyline they create will be something that works within Frontier Canada, perhaps an adventure following the journey of some voyagers working for the Hudson's Bay Trading Company. If it's anything like Calico River Rapids, it should be a lot of fun. Around the same time, I think we can expect to receive something similar to Forbidden Frontier at Cedar Point. Again, going back to that whole idea of adding interactive and themed experiences. I think a good location for it would be the island created by Whitewater Canyon's Flume. If the park is renovating the Rapids ride, they might as well reroute the queue and make room for the attraction all at the same time. Otherwise, this kind of experience could just be spread out among the entirety of Frontier Canada, creating this immersive, integrated experience throughout. Now, what about Action Theater? As of 2019, its only purpose has been to house the Haunt Maze Spirit Manor. The last time they screened any sort of film there was 2017 for Canada 150. However, they did redo the queue in 2018. So, is it here to stay? I believe that the answer is yes. What I would love to see, and from what I hear, what the park is planning, is the addition of a flying theater type of attraction similar to Soarin' over at Epcot. This new ride will take guests on a flight over some of Canada's most famous landmarks. This would be an awesome addition. I know a lot of different manufacturers have their own version of the flying theater ride system, but I think the top contenders for Wonderland would be Vekoma or Dynamic Attractions. Now, I do believe we will be getting a new roller coaster in Frontier Canada sometime in the next 2 to 4 years. Again, it just depends on the long-term impacts of COVID, but yes, a roller coaster is definitely in the cards. Now, a lot of people have suggested a Mack double launch like Copperhead Strike or a B&M Wing Coaster, and I do think that those models are possible and would be a good fit for Wonderland, but I see them going to other areas of the park, not Frontier Canada. So just hold on to those for now. I think the next coaster we're going to see will be some sort of modern wooden coaster, something from GCI or maybe even Gravity Group. It would work very well with the whole Frontier Canada theme. We know Cedar Fair works with GCI, and honestly, Wonderland is in desperate need of a good wooden coaster, because the other 3 we have in the park are either extremely rough or designed for kids. As for a theme, I think theming it to an animal such as a wolf or a bear would work really well, especially if it were to replace Timberwolf Falls. Which brings me to my next point, location. I think the best place to fit this coaster would be in the back section near Whitewater Canyon, and as I mentioned, it could cross over the path into Timberwolf's plot of land. Now, some of you may be curious as to why I haven't thought of removing Mindbuster to make room for this new coaster. Well, I have, but Mindbuster is getting retracked as we speak. While this doesn't necessarily mean that its removal won't happen, it does make it less likely. I don't actually know if this is what they're doing right now, but I would like to see Mindbuster get retrofitted with some of that Titan track from GCI. To finish off with Frontier Canada, I think that we can expect to see a sit-down restaurant, possibly one of those multi-station eateries like Harmony Hall at Carowinds. Moving on, let's focus our attention on Medieval Faire. In 2019, a lot of attractions in this area received new names. Or should I say, old names. They were just converted back to the medieval themed names and spellings that they opened with. Now, one ride that was left out of this update was Spinovator, and I'm wondering if that was intentional. For those of you who don't know, Spinovator opened under the name Quixote's Kettles. Back in the day, this ride had some fun theming elements like handles over top of the cars. And looking at some concept art, the theming was planned to be even more elaborate. Now, why am I mentioning all this? Well, I believe that Wonderland intends to revert this attraction not only to its former thematic glory, but to go back to the concept art and really plus the theming of the ride. In fact, I think this could be the case for a lot of the medieval Faire flat rides. One big example that I can think of is Drop Tower, which really sticks out like a sore thumb in the area. So what I would like to see is a complete retheme of the ride that transforms it into a giant castle spire. We did see Drop Tower in California's Great America get a repaint a few years back, and that made the ride look like a giant sequoia tree, so we know Cedar Fair isn't opposed to the idea of reskinning their drop rides. Obviously, this makeover would be a little more intense than a fresh coat of paint, but I think it would still be within the realm of possibility. As for a name, plain old Drop Tower works just fine, but they could opt for a cheesy medieval name like, I don't know, Nightfall? Just a suggestion, Wonderland. Take it or leave it as you will. Unfortunately, I do think that time is running out for both Dragonfire and Riptide. Neither ride is popular anymore, and it seems like aero coasters and top spins are the main targets of Cedar Fair's purging. This isn't a bad thing, however. Remember that Mac double launch I mentioned earlier? That could go here, probably 3 to 4 years after Frontier Canada's coaster. I would love to see it retain the old dragon theme and keep that dragon statue out front. Now, if Wonderland really wanted to impress me, they would include a small show scene either just before or just after the main portion of the ride with a big animatronic dragon, but I might just be dreaming here. But then again, Wonderland, if you're listening, just a suggestion, take notes. That's basically it for medieval Faire updates. I mean, you might see the go-karts go sometime over the next 10 years, but I think a replacement might be beyond the scope of this video. Which brings us over to the Grand World Exposition of 1890. This internationally themed area used to be a beautifully themed section of the park. That is, until Paramount came in and mutilated it with Action Zone. Thankfully, I think Cedar Fair has some big plans for this land. First of all, I think that Action Zone is destined to be eliminated and completely rethemed back to World Expo. Maybe the area around Windseeker, Skyhawk, and Slingshot might become its own little flight-themed area, but other than that, it'll be World Expo all the way. Just like with medieval Faire, I think the flat rides in this area will get some attention and receive some nice new theming to better reflect the international vibe. Now, if this were to happen, Backlot Stunt Coaster would be, well, problematic, because it's a coaster themed to Hollywood stunt drivers and not an old World's Fair. The two solutions I see are 1, retheme it, and if they do this, the park could create something super cool and highly immersive, or 2, maybe that corner with Backlot Stunt Coaster and Behemoth, and possibly even Cyclone and Sledgehammer don't get a retheme, they just stay as Action Zone. But if they did go with this route, I would really want them to sell me on the whole Hollywood theme. Whatever they do, please, for the love of Snoopy, restore the special effects! Another big change I would want to see is the return of the Japanese restaurant where Backlot Cafe now sits. That restaurant used to be incredibly beautiful, and now it's just ugly. And the food isn't all that great either. So yeah, I would love to see the Japanese theme make a return. Additionally, it would really complete the theme of the area if all the other restaurants started serving some international cuisine. Finally, and this would be towards the end of our 10-year period, I think we might finally see the removal of Flight Deck and Time Warp. And if you've been following along with Wonderland rumors for a while, you know where this is headed. The removal of these rides would open up a huge plot of land, which would be perfect for a new B&M Wind Coaster or a B&M Invert, which, of course, would be called Ziz, finally completing the trinity of Behemoth, the beast of the land, Leviathan, the beast of the sea, and now Ziz, the beast of the air from Hebrew mythology. I know a lot of people have given up on this whole Ziz idea, but honestly, it would be a perfect fit for the area. Of course, whatever model they decide to go with here, it would smash all the records for that type of coaster. I think there's also a possibility that Extreme Skyflyer could be removed if they wanted to really open up that space. And if they do that, this could have some fun gatekeeper-esque interactions with the park's new front entrance. Oh, that reminds me, Canada's Wonderland is in desperate need of a new entrance. It's pretty outdated, and since Canada's Wonderland is the most visited seasonal park in North America, it could really use some infrastructure updates. Hey, maybe they could implement that state-of-the-art security system that the Six Flags parks introduced this year. Another big trend we've been seeing lately is a focus on Canada's Wonderland's water park, Splashworks. Or should I say, Muskoka Bay. Okay, that might not be the name, but I really do think that Splashworks is due for a renovation and retheme. Just look at some of their recent additions like Muskoka Plunge, Lakeside Lagoon, and now Mountain Bay Cliffs. Now imagine if the entire water park represented that lakeside cottage country theme. By removing some older sides like Whirlwinds and giving the rest a new theme and a fresh coat of paint, Wonderland's water park could become the best in the country. Some new sides that could be added include a water coaster, a boomerang, or even a large-scale funnel slide. Finally, some rockwork and theming elements would tie everything together. Additionally, a separate water park entrance connecting to the parking lot may also be an option that Wonderland decides to explore. Of course, since Wonderland is considered by many to be the flat ride capital of the world, we can expect a few to come along over the next few years. Some potential models may include a Screamin' Swing, a Zamperla Endeavor, or a Zamperla Air Race. I don't really have any concrete ideas in terms of location. There are plenty of good spots throughout the Grand World Exposition of 1890, Medieval Faire, or even again in Frontier Canada. Wherever they put them, each of these flat rides will be themed to match the area in which they are located. Other than that, I think some potential changes that we might see could be a retheme of Planet Snoopy to become Camp Snoopy, as well as a much needed update to Wonder Mountain's Guardian. Anyways, what do you think about my predictions? And realistic or not, what would you like to see at Canada's Wonderland? Comment down below. Thank you so much to everyone who has been supporting this channel over the past few years. I really appreciate it. Like I said earlier, this is my last video for Season 4, and Season 5 will begin in February with all new adventures, including new series and my first full-length documentary. If you enjoyed this video and want to join the adventure in Season 5, consider subscribing and press that little bell icon while you're at it. I'm still going to be active on social media over the next few months, so be sure to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at ADDParker. Until next time, always remember, the adventures are calling.